This is a solution for the practice problem that was proposed at the end of the parameters, return values, and math methods tutorial that was done previously on the same playlist. So the goal is to program these calculation methods. So I'm going to go ahead and create the class that we're going to use to write the methods in. So I'm going to go to my parameters, return values, and math methods package that was made as part of the previous tutorial and do right-click, new Java class. And I'm going to name it calculation methods. And then I'm going to double-click to hide the pane on the left. And then, like always, I'm going to have to do public static void main string args. And in here, this is going to call all the calculation methods that I'll be writing. So the first one I want to do is a method that calculates the average of two numbers. So I'm going to do public static, and then instead of void, like I've been doing with my previous methods, I'm going to put double, because double makes the most sense for an average of two numbers. So I'm going to do double average, and I'm going to have it take in two doubles. So I'm going to say double A, double B. And now I get this error telling me that I'm missing a return statement. And that's because any method that specifies a return type other than void has to have a return statement at the end. So I'm going to do return A plus B divided by 2. And this is just an inline return statement. I could have also done double sum equals A plus B, and then double average equals sum divided by 2, and then returned the sum instead as an alternative, and then returned the average instead as an alternative. So the rule basically is if what you're calculating can be done in a single line and still be understood relatively easily, it makes sense to do it the first thing I did, which is just return the calculation directly. And if you think it can benefit from showing the intermediate steps for your calculation, do it like this. Okay, so the next method is calculating the average of three numbers using method overloading. So that means I should have a second average method with the same name but different parameters. So I'm going to do public static double average. Then I'm going to do double A, double B, and at this point I get an error because it's telling me that it's an already defined method. But once I add the third double, it does the overloading, so it's fine. So I'm going to do return A plus B plus C divided by 3. The next one is to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle. And for that, I'm just going to do public static int perimeter. And I'm going to assume that perimeters are always measured in whole numbers. So I'm going to do int height, int width. And then for the perimeter, I'm just going to return 2 times height plus 2 times width. And I know because of the order of precedence, it'll do the multiplication first. But if you want, so I could leave it just like this if you're comfortable with that. If you want it to be super clear to whoever comes next that the multiplication is supposed to be done first, you can go ahead and put in parentheses just to make it super obvious what's happening when. So the next one is for the area of a rectangle. Public static int area. And it's going to take in int height, int width. and it's going to return height times width. So the next one's for the circumference of a circle. Public static double circumference. So I can calculate the circumference just based on the radius of a circle. So I'm going to take in int radius. I have it taking in a radius because an int for the radius, because I'm going to assume that the radii are measured in whole numbers, but it's going to return a double because I know that circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, and pi is obviously a very long decimal. So I'm going to have it return 2 times math dot pi times the radius. And remember, math.pi is just a constant from the math class that I know exists. And then the area of a circle. So public static double area, I'm going to call it circle area. And then I'm going to take in the radius again. And in this case, it's pi times r times the radius squared. So I'm going to return math.pi times math.pow, which takes the first double, a, and raises it to the power of b, radius 2. And if I hover over this, sometimes, if I can get it to work, there it goes. If you hit Alt, so let me go back and explain what I did. If you hit Command and then click, it'll take you to the definition of any of these classes that you're dealing with. And here, I can see an explanation of what's going on. See? So A is the base, and B is the exponent, and it returns the A raised to B. And this method, this format right here is called a block comment, and it just lets you comment out a bunch of lines as a block of text instead of commenting out a line at a time like you do with this double /. So X out of that. So now I have all of my methods defined, and I'm getting the error that they're unused. So I'm going to go ahead and use them in my main method just so we can see what they look like. So I'm going to do, I can either do something like double average of 2 numbers equals average 7, 5. And then public, and then system.out.println average of 2 numbers. Or I can call the print directly in the system.out.println. So I could do system.out.println average 7, 5, 3. And again, like we talked about on the previous tutorial, if you don't pass a variable in as a parameter, and you just do a explicit parameter like this, IntelliJ will give you the name of the parameter here. So now I've used both versions of average, and now I want to use perimeter. And I'm going to say 3 and 4. Let's copy this so it goes a little bit faster. Now I'm going to calculate the area of 3 and 4. and then the circumference of 4, and the circle area of 4. So I printed all of these without any labels for them, so whenever this runs, it'll just be a list of numbers. So I can do run, run, and then I want to select calculation method since it's the first time I'm running it. And after it loads, I see this. So this again is a symptom of doubles not being exactly precise in the system. And so we'll learn how to fix that in the next tutorial when we talk about printf for formatting different types of strings. But this is the output, and it's what we expected. So I'm going to go through and add labels for the different numbers just so that they give context for whoever's running my program. So I'm going to do average of 2 numbers. Actually, I'm going to put average of 7 and 5. Then copy this. Average of 7, 5, and 3. Perimeter of rectangle. Area of rectangle. Circumference with radius 4. And then area of circle with radius 4. Okay, and I'm going to hit play again. It's going to rerun. And now they all have labels. So definitely a more helpful thing to deal with. And that's it. We've written all the methods that we need, and we have labels for them. You can expand this however you want, play with different values to make sure that it calculates properly, all those things. I hope this was helpful.